Welcome to rSlash I Don't Work Here Lady, where an entitled woman gets beaten up by a combat veteran. Background: I'm a small Chinese woman living in a predominantly white neighborhood. Our house has a large front yard, and we like to do the gardening ourselves. I don't speak with an accent, and I usually use a very English name for easy communication. I called for a free estimate from a local duck cleaning service and scheduled it on Saturday. My mom and I were in the front yard planting flowers and de-weeding, chatting family stuff in our own language while enjoying the nice weather outside. We were in full gardening gear, complete with straw hats and rain boots with face masks on. A white truck with a trailer drove up and a middle-aged man jumped out. He waves me down. "Hey, where is the owner of the house?" I pulled down my mask. "Oh, you must be the duct cleaning service. Please come in with me." "No, I need to speak with the landlord." "I am the landlord. Do you need to come in the house for the estimate?" The guy cuts me off. "No, I need to speak to the person who made the call." I pull out my phone. "Okay, hold on," and I dial the company number. He pulls out the phone. "See, the landlord is calling me." "Hi, I'm OP. I'm standing right in front of you. I don't think I'll be needing your services today. Goodbye." The guy stood there dumbstruck for a moment, then sulkily walked back to his truck and left. My mom looked at me confused and asked in Chinese, "What was that?" I shrugged and answered, "Looks like we need to call another duct cleaning company." "Ma'am, I'm sorry for being sexist, and or racist. Actually, I was being an ist in so many different ways, I'm not exactly sure which one offended you the most. Can I please still have your business?" Our next Reddit post is from Fluffle-for-five. My husband works for a pretty prestigious university as the director of student life. He oversees a decent-sized staff, and their work encompasses all manner of student activities, groups, Greek life, etc. A little background before I get to the incident. A few months ago, we were expecting our baby. Most people on campus knew this, and knew that my husband, let's call him Joe, would be taking paternity leave. When the big day came, I called him at work and told him, "It's go time, meet me at the hospital." And he dropped everything and ran out the door, as you do. In the delivery room, we had plenty of downtime, so from time to time, he checked his work email while I rested. He's looking through it and goes, "What the F?" A professor wrote him the most caustic, unhinged rant saying, basically, "I came into your office to see you about a matter concerning my students, and you weren't there, despite the department hours clearly stating 8 to 5. This is unacceptable and unprofessional. Contact me immediately, etc." He lolled and said, "Won't she feel silly when she gets his out-of-office reply?" But no. 10 minutes later, she's harassing him again. Finally, he sent her a very terse reply, and it seemed that that was the end of that, but not for long. Every day for the next week, this professor came into the office demanding to know if Joe was there. More than one tear was shed by the staff during this time. I don't know exactly what she was saying or why no one else could do what she needed. The staff was kind enough not to burden Joe with this while he was on paternity leave. But reports are it was like having an angry Dementor come through. On the first day Joe returned to work, he got to meet this professor face to face. He was in his office, on FaceTime with me actually, when yelling erupts from down the hall. "Uh-oh," he says to me. "Bet that's her." We hung up, and what conversation happened in that office can only be imagined. Or maybe he told me and I forgot. Hashtag newborn life. But by all accounts, she was cantankerous, irate, and incorrect in what she was trying to do, and could not be told otherwise. As he is in charge of the department, but not of her, he could only put his foot down on the request, but not the behavior. Finally, she left, and the whole situation was done and dusted, finished and forgotten. But again, not for long. Fast forward to yesterday. I decided to pop in with the baby to surprise him, and hopefully we could go to lunch. Also, show off the baby, of course. When we arrived, it was squeeze all around from the office staff, and one of the ladies took the baby for a tour around the building. I've been holding that kid for 3 months straight, so I was happy to let her. Joe's admin assistant told me he was in a meeting for another 10 minutes or so, and then she went off on the baby world tour. So I decided to sit in his office and enjoy merciful silence, but, and you guessed it, not for long. Enter the professor from heck. I knew it was her before she said one word. She looked like an ivory tower Karen with an "I want to talk to your dean" hairdo. Does nobody do any work around here? This is outrageous. Where's the administration assistant? Why is Joe even on the payroll if he is never here? Go find him. What? Oh my effing gosh. Are you too effing hungover to accept simple direction? What the F is wrong with you? I'd kick your butt out of class looking like that. I don't care where he is. Go and get Joe. Oh, you think I'm a student? She says mockingly. Oh, I'm gonna pretend I'm not a student now sitting in the office with the university sweatshirt and a book bag. What group are you in? Because Joe will be very interested to hear how inept you are. I'm like, book bag? Oh yeah, diaper bag, lol. At this point, I decide to ride this out and hope he comes back and sees it in progress. Okay, let's say I'm a student. Why do you think I work here? That was exactly the wrong, or right, depending on your point of view, thing to say. This lady came undone in a torrent of maniacal hissing and shrieking. Her vitriol knew no bounds as she directed it at me, the office staff, my husband, all students except hers, the building itself. I've never seen such a tantrum. Give the baby a few years. As she's having her meltdown, I moved out of the chair where I'd been sitting and sidled up to a photo of our wedding that Joe hung up. I leaned against the wall like a laconic cowboy with my foot up, arms folded, smirking. Unsurprisingly, she didn't notice the similarities between the beaming bride and the dumpy, sleep-deprived chick standing before her, but I remain committed to the con. After several moments of a non-stop torrent of verbal abuse, Joe's not even fit for community college. How the F did he get a job here? Was the one that made me chortle. She didn't like that much. I hear a flurry of footsteps come flying down the hall. The admin assistant comes sliding through the door like Kramer, face white as a sheet. I ask her if Joe Jr. is okay. Another coworker had him in another office because they heard the crazy professor and didn't want his baby self to learn what madness lurks in the world at such a tender age. She has exactly enough time to answer yes before the professor unleashes the Kraken in her direction vis-a-vis the ineptitude of moi, clutch pearls. The admin assistant says, "Wait, what are you talking about? That's Joe's wife." Me, still posed like the Marlboro Man, points at my picture. And right on cue, here comes the man of the hour, Joe, complete with Joe Jr. in arm. The coworker holding the baby had called his cell phone and told him what was happening and to get back here ASAP. Joe was livid, but that eerie, scary sort that is a schadenfreude lover's delight when directed at a deserving recipient. He handed me the baby and asked if I was alright, then turned to the professor. "Get out. Do not come back until I have spoke to your department chair. I'm going to lunch." And then I say, boy, do I have a story to tell you. And out the door we swept, off to lunch, where we got pizza and migraines from laughing so hard. So I actually know people who work in universities, and I've heard some real horror stories. From what I've heard, yes, professors really can be this egotistical. Have any of you had similar encounters with insanely entitled professors? If so, I want to hear from you down in the comments. Our next Reddit post is from Hema and Horses. Some background before I start. I am in my 30s, have a bit of gray in my beard, and regularly wear my hair in a ponytail. I retired from the military, and after a lifetime of being a non-commissioned officer, apparently have an air of, I know what I'm doing, even when I clearly do not know what I'm doing. Add to this that my primary job is horse training for dressage, so I tend to dress up a bit due to the nature of my clientele. What this means is that it is very common for me to be wearing slacks, a button-down shirt, and a waistcoat. I get mistaken as management fairly often, though greater than 90% of the time, the people I'm interacting with simply apologize and go on their merry way. Every once in a while, it goes much worse. This happened about 3 weeks ago. I had to have one of the rescue horses euthanized due to an injury that his emaciated body simply couldn't recover from. And this happened about a month after my elderly mare, who was the best horse I've ever had the honor of knowing, had passed due to age. Suffice it to say, I was in a funk, but needs must, so off to the market I went for dinner supplies. As I'm browsing the shelves looking for an item I can no longer recall, I hear someone clear their throat in the obvious, "Give me your attention" way. Assuming that I'm in the way of their buggy, I step closer to the shelves without looking up. Cue a second, louder throat clearing. I make the mistake of glancing in the direction of the sound. What I see is a stereotypical Karen standing behind her buggy, arms crossed, and looking at me very disapprovingly. While I don't recall exactly what was said through the entirety of our interaction, a good portion of it is burned into my memory. "Now you acknowledge me. I've been standing here for 10 minutes. Huh? You gonna help me or not? Well, given how rude you're being when we've just met, I would rather not. How dare you speak to a customer like that? What's wrong with you?" At this point, I briefly worry that she's one of my clients at the stable, but quickly decide that if she is, then I can stand losing her. Me still thinking she might be a new client, but knowing that I always let them all know to address concerns at the stable directly or via my professional phone number. I'm not working at the moment, so if you've got a problem, just leave me a message or swing by the office tomorrow. This needs to be addressed right now. Unsure of the exact wording here, but that was the gist of it. Well, I doubt that. She proceeds to prattle on about a rude employee who wouldn't get her some item, and now it was no wonder since management was the same way. This is the point where I finally clue in. I believe you're mistaken, as I don't work here. I don't care if you're on break. You're the manager. Do your job. I say slowly and deliberately. I did not say I was on break. I said that I do not work here. Yes, you do, but you won't for long. Give me your regional manager's number right now. I laugh. Right, I'll get right on that for you. Saw it off. She sputters about rudeness and how loyal a customer she is, etc., etc. I reiterate one last time that I don't work there. Decide that whatever I was looking for is probably unnecessary and turn to walk away. This is where she screws up big time. After multiple combat tours, I don't deal well with large public spaces as it is, and I deal even less well with being pushed, grabbed, pulled, or other very sudden actions directed at me. She comes up behind me, grabs my right shoulder, and attempts to turn me around. I know she was talking and yelling at the time, but I don't know what she was saying. Out of reflex upon feeling the pull on my shoulder, I rotate my arm around hers, trap her hand with my other hand, and step through while pulling. This puts her face first on the floor, and I've got her arm levered behind her with my knee on her back. As soon as I became aware, maybe 2 seconds after the initial grab, I let go, step back, and figure I'm screwed. She starts bawling about my breaking her arm. It wasn't. There was no actual damage to her except a bruise where her face hit the floor, which causes an employee to come running. He asks if she is okay and what happened. She screams about how she was just asking for help and I grabbed her and threw her down. He looks at me. He knows me because this is near my home and I'm there weekly. And I tell him to get a manager and to call the police. The shift manager arrives before the employee can even take 2 steps and asks what happened. As this manager knows me very well, I teach his daughter to ride and we hang out fairly often. He hears what she says and responds with, "When the police get here, they can review the security video." Then asks the employee to escort me to the manager's office until the police arrive. At this point, I'm figuring that I am well and truly buggered. About 10 minutes later, still waiting for the police to arrive, I hear a commotion. Karen slams the door open and proceeds to scream at me at the top of her lungs. The first thought in my head was, well, I'm done. I stand up, square my shoulders, and turn on my sergeant voice. "Quiet, you ragged grunt. You assaulted me. You grabbed and pulled me. I didn't survive 3 tours of combat just to be treated like trash in a supermarket. Is that how you treat all the people around you? Or just the ones you think are below you because they work in a place like this?" At this point, she is silent and has gone full deer in headlights like a private who just got off the bus at basic training. I continue, not noticing that there are now 2 police officers nearby. Nothing gives you the right to treat people like trash, let alone put your grubby hands on them. You've probably gotten away with it before. It's just your sodding luck to have put your hands on a veteran with PTSD this time. Now sit the F down and don't open your cock holster until someone asks you to. She sits, quickly and quietly. The officers enter the room fully and I sit back down. One of them takes her out of the office. The other closes the door and asks me for my version of what happened. After I finish, he steps out, confers with his partner, then they speak to the manager and toddle off to watch the security video. A few minutes later, they walk back in the office. I assume I'm to be arrested, so I turn about and put my hands behind my back because I don't want to give them any reason to view me as a threat. They then ask if I want to press charges. I turn around, see that they have her in cuffs. They explain that when they came out from seeing the video, she verbally assaulted one of them, then spit in his face when he told her that she could not press charges because she was the aggressor. They were arresting her for assaulting the officer and wanted to know if I wanted to press charges for her assault on me. I was tired, I was hungry, and I just wanted to go home. I told them as much and they left. My buddy, the manager, came in after that and gave me a ride home because I was really in no shape to be driving. So here's a life pro tip for you. Don't assault combat veterans. Not only will they absolutely wipe the floor with you, but you're also gonna come off looking like an absolute D-bag. Our next Reddit post is from Vita Est. I work at a hospital as an ER nurse, which means when I start at 7 a.m., by 9 in the morning, all the flips I possess are gone. And by the end of my 12.5-hour shift, I'm pretty much just done with people in general. Don't get me wrong, I love my job, but fighting Darwinism can be exhausting. So after a rather grueling shift, I stopped by the grocery store for dinner. I'm tired and feeling super lazy at this point, so even though I'm only grabbing a couple of things, I use a regular cart, cause you know, I can lean on it. I do my shopping, pay for my goods, and head out to my truck. Just to inform, no khakis were involved here. Store employees wear dark brown slacks, white collared shirts, and ties. I was wearing an incredible scrub top, yes, the animated movie, no, you can't judge me, and bright blue scrub pants. After loading my groceries, I, of course, returned my wheeled crutch, shopping cart, to the corral and returned to my truck when I see a harpy with a resting jerk face that would make Lois from Malcolm in the Middle proud screams across the lot. "Boy, I'm done. You can take my cart now." Huh? I know I look young, but really? Boy? "Come over here and take my cart." Yeah, I don't work here, sorry. "Just do your dang job and take my cart." That's gonna be a hard no from me, sorry. I start again back towards my truck. Harpy at this point decides to thrust her cart towards me. It rolls, as carts with wheels are wont to do, and to me, it's like a train wreck. I want to look away, but I can't. I'm mesmerized by the free range movement of this cart as it runs right into a Jaguar. A nice, clean one, with dealer plaques still on where the license plate should be. And a woman who totally looked like a Karen, you know the type, just getting out. The Karen obviously starts screaming and hollering as only a Karen can. Harpy is trying to blame me for not running out to catch the cart. I'm trying very hard not to start laughing. I finally get back to my truck as Harpy is screaming at me to stop because this is my fault, cause I should have collected her cart in the first place. The last thing I heard before closing my door and driving off was the Karen screaming at Harpy about how he's effing wearing scrubs. How could any idiot think he works here? I think this was the first time I've ever rooted for a Karen. That was rSlash Idontworkherelady, and if you enjoyed my content, please like and subscribe to this video because it honestly really helps me out.